Okay, welcome back, everybody. As I told you, I would take the time out to speak to some of the players here. I thought I was going to do it for you outside, but we brought it back into this intimate setting where it's just us and you. So welcome back. Of course, my name is Ray Ellis. This is Handle Your Business, and I am with a former player, Isaiah Stanback, of, I guess I can't say one of my favorite teams, but certainly one of the teams I certainly have a lot of respect for, the Dallas Cowboys. Welcome, thanks. I just
Appreciate
by, man.
Thanks
yeah.
for having me on.
Listen, this is something that's been going on probably many years before you were aware of it, because I think it's your first time participant.
Yeah, first time.
And we're happy that you're here. But this is the player networking event, and this portion of it is Handle Your Business. This is our media platform that we use. And one thing I know for sure, man, because you told me a little bit, is you have handled your business. And I would just like for you to share with the audience out there, first of all, a little background on where you went to school at,
Sure.
The years you played there, and then, of course, your experience in the league. But then also talk to them about how you made that step that once you were finished playing and transitioned right into the space that you find yourself in.
Absolutely. So,
Okay.
Historically, I'm born and raised in Seattle, Washington. Went to University of Washington, played quarterback there. The second black quarterback behind some guy named Warren Moon. And,
yeah, we don't know him. We don't know
that
him.
guy at all. So I had the opportunity to be a part of history in that regard. Fought a lot of adversity, as you can imagine, during that time period, but overcame it. Ended up going pro and playing for they got drafted by the Dallas Cowboys in 2007. At which time I had to make a decision to not go pro baseball at the time as well, so that was a hard decision. So I went pro football. Got drafted as a receiver though.
Okay.
Played quarterback in college, but got drafted as a receiver to the Cowboys. From that point on, I ended up playing receiver, quarterback, and tight end in my 6-year pro career. Won a Super Bowl with the Giants and had 5 surgeries along the way.
Wow.
So during that time period, I ended up having 7 surgeries in about a 6-year span. So as you can imagine, the big check, wasn't going to come in the way that I always hoped and dreamed of as a young athlete. So I had to figure it out. I had to figure out what the next step was for me. And during that time, after I tore my Achilles, was my last major injury I had. That was back in 2010. 2011 year. I apologize. I had to figure out what was the next step, and I didn't want to be sitting there left as a part of the statistics of everybody that's kind of sitting there with their hands in the air trying to figure out what the next step is. So I took it upon myself to go back and start my MBA. I went to George Washington University, got my MBA degree. So when I retired, in 2013, I had already started my own business. I didn't know what I was doing. But I knew I didn't want a gap in time. So I started a Steadfast Fitness and Performance, personal training and performance facility, and really just started that with a business partner and just built it up. Expanded it 3 years later, 14,000 square feet. So now I'm 7 years in running that business. I've had an opportunity now to work I'm in the XFL, working in the front office with the Dallas Renegades, running community engagement, and I'm also doing motivational speaking around the country. So just trying to stay busy.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for that, for sharing that information with us, because it's very important for us to hear stories about players and how they deal with that transition. It's okay that you're a little vulnerable and you let people know I didn't know what I was doing, but I was trying to do something.
Absolutely.
And we certainly appreciate that, because that goes against everything that people think about athletes. And it's always good to have one who's been successful and still appreciates his experience with the game. So now that you've been away from the game and you look back upon it, and you come into an environment like the player networking event, which is something, it was a thought of Guy Troops, who took that and molded and shaped it and has been doing it for the last 20 years. Do you see the benefits of this type of environment for players?
Absolutely. This motivates me. It excites me every time I see anybody that has a passion to help athletes find their goals and find their passion, right? And then transition, from one chapter to the next. It's difficult. We hear their stories all the time, and as much as we can, as a civilization, we need to try to extend a hand out, back and try to bring somebody along to help them avoid the potholes and avoid the hurdles that we've had to overcome, or that others have had to overcome. So it's just, it really inspires me that people are passionate about helping others. It's very selfish, environment a lot of times.
Now, when you look back at your experience with the university as well as with the league, do you feel that there's anything that they could have done or should have done to help players in their transition? Because we're also trying to gather information so that we can work with people who've had the experience to go through it, that they could share their experience with those who are playing now, so we can try to help them. So the NFL alumni stopped through here, and they said that, of course, there's been a shift and a refocus on caring for our own.
Yeah,
It's always been caring for kids. We continue to care for kids, but we're also caring for our own. So maybe if there's some things out there you think, Professor, that when you look on it, hey, maybe if the players had some of this to support them, or if the players did this, or if the league or the alumni or the Players Association. So just share some of that if you don't mind.
So I think over the past probably 10 to 15 years, the NFL Alumni Association, the NFL PA, the NFL Trust, the Legends, we have about 6 different chapters. I think, but all these things have came about with the intent to help former players, with the intent to help guys transition to that next phase successfully. And I think that there's enough programs out there. Obviously, there always could be more, and they always could be refined and you know and be better. However, there's enough programs out there. I think the real root of the problem now that we need to start addressing is having guys, like you mentioned earlier, be vulnerable. As athletes, we take it upon ourselves, and especially as men, we take it upon ourselves to kind of do things ourselves, and nobody really wants to raise their hand and say, hey, I need help, hey, I don't know. It's a very vulnerable position for people who are kind of like alpha males traditionally, and especially through football. So I think more than anything, we need to have people start sharing their stories and being transparent in the sense of, hey, this is where I was at, this is where I am now, but understand what it took for me to get there. And part of that was me saying, I don't know.
Yeah, one thing that I read someplace, and I don't remember it word for word, but it certainly spoke to the fact that it's okay to ask questions, to be in a room where there's a presentation, there's information being shared, and if you don't have all the answers or you don't quite understand it, it's a little foggy to you, it's okay to ask questions. And you know, a lot of times, like you talk about being that alpha male, you don't want to be the one in the room with the coaches when he's explaining to us the offense or the defense, and you don't remember or you're not clear on it. But then when you go out on the field and you make that mistake, you wish you would have.
It's on you.
So that's the same thing in life, you know. And I, like you too, I want the players out there to make sure they reach out and they participate. So what I want you to do, if you will, is to share the information, your experience with all your friends, man, and let them know about the PNE. You know, it is something guys been doing for 20 years. It's still the best kept secret, but it is growing. I've been involved for probably the last 14 or 15 years. It's grown tremendously, and it helps me because I've seen some players come in and maybe their first or second year, and then it's 10 years later, and I see that they're coming back, and I do see their development. And that's all because we're, you know, shaking hands, passing the baton, and we're all participating, members of the same fraternity. And I'm just glad you're here. I want you to go out there and enjoy it. And there's some people out there who probably want to take some pictures and shake your hand and do that too. They still do that regardless. Even when you're done with the game, they want to continue to do that. So thanks, Isaiah. God bless you, man.
I appreciate you having me on. Thank you, man.
All right. We'll be back. You've been listening to, of course, Handle Your Business at the Player Networking event in Miami, 20th anniversary of the Player Networking event.